Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. Speaking of, I'm really excited because this is the first interview that I've done on this page. And I'm also excited because we have Christopher Connors, who is the best-selling author of The Value of You and his new book, Emotional Intelligence for the Modern Leader. He's also a former coworker of mine. I'm excited to talk to him today. So thanks for being here, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Steph. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah. So I read your book, and one of the things you talked about in there was icebreakers. And you said that one of the icebreakers that you suggest is what is the worst movie that you've ever seen? I'm going to start with that.
But I remember when I was in college, I kind of went on a date with this girl, and we saw the movie Freddie Got Fingered.
I do remember
Uh,
that. I've never seen it.
Literally the worst movie I've ever seen. So bad that I'm almost embarrassed to even mention it. And I probably need to start to update my bad movie. But that is the one that kind of sticks at the top of the list for me. It was regretful that I had to spend any money on that.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm not sorry that I missed that one. Ugh. Okay, so I read your book, and one thing that stands out, and also from talking to you, is you talk a lot about meditation and thinking about things, having vision, visualizing. Why is that so important to you to have that clear vision of what you're going to do and to imagine it before it's happening?
Yeah, I first would say, and maybe this is most people, but I'm a very visual thinker, and even when I'm doing speaking engagements, or if I'm getting up in front of a group to say something, or even if I'm just trying to think about or formulate the words that I want to say, to a friend or family member or whomever, I always visualize beforehand what I want to say. So from a visualization standpoint, especially when it comes to like speaking engagements that I do, I would say I even put that higher than just actually writing out the speech. I mean, very often I have a pretty good idea of the things that I want to say, but until I've kind of done that, I call it, mental mapping or mental architecture of visualization of what I want to say. I think that that's so important. Meditation for me is something that, more from like a social and emotional standpoint has helped me to relax my mind and quiet my mind. The best thinking and the most creative that I am, as well as just the most, confident and calm that I am, is when I have kind of a quiet mind and I'm able to spend time in solitude. So meditation for me, I'll find meditations that are just really very soothing and calming. But I also like to listen to ones that, maybe in some ways are similar to things that I'll write about or talk about, which are a little bit more empowering. And so I've been spending more time lately on some empowering meditations. I use the app called Insight Timer, and that's completely free. You can pay for it, but you can get it completely for free. And it's but that I think the meditation sets the tone for me for my ability to kind of use my creative imagination for all the different things that I do.
What is on your vision board? Because you talk a lot about that too. And how far out do you make a vision board?
It's very similar to what I talk about in some of the books and in some of the coaching and work that I do in speaking, which is just kind of having a game plan. So, I'll often remind myself of the things, that I'm passionate about, or at least the values that I stand for, that I won't compromise. And then why I'm doing it, my purpose, how I'm defining success in some instances. But I think for me, vision board is the most important part of it. Is just it's having the goals. It's just being able to have those things front and center. I'm sure you and the audience have heard before, a lot of very successful people, they'll have, post-it notes or things at their desk, or just reminders on a bathroom mirror, for example, of, things that they want to achieve. And it kind of goes back to what you just asked a few minutes ago around visualization. I think that the more you can keep your goals and big dreams and the things that matter most to you front and center, why in so many instances in the workplace, we'll have a picture of our family, or, we'll have a picture of, the people that are closest to us. I just think, continuing to keep those things and people that matter most to us top of mind, that's really inspiring for me. So a vision board to me, it's about goals, and it's about those kind of success measures that can help drive you to achieve the goals that you want.
In your book, you talked about how to create a vision board and some of the things that, just the tips for making it. And I thought, I really wish I had this when I made mine. And I think it was like January 11th or something. I went to a class about making vision boards, and it was just like a bunch of magazines. And it was fun. We got to chat with the other people, but I was like putting all the pictures on there, and I like how it turned out, but I felt myself wondering, like, what should I be doing? What is my focus? How do I figure out what's going on here? And I think I inadvertently caused the quarantine to happen because I put a picture of my home state and said home on there. And I already had that. I live at home now. And I was like, crap, I guess I need to, this is a lesson to be more specific because I put home on there and like now I'm home all the time. So, but like I put other funny things on like Dr. Ruth, which is somebody I would never thought that I would have put on a vision board. But I just liked it. I mean, she is just ballsy and lived her life and, blazed a path. So I think it turned out okay, but it would have been far better if I would have been able to have some kind of structure around it. Talked about whenever like planning your day, how did you come up with that concept, or what made it pop out to you as like offense, defense?
Sports has always been really the way that I kind of make sense of my world and how I see the world in many respects. Played competitive sports, mostly basketball, growing up, played basketball in college, and I've coached high school basketball for about 6 years throughout, just my professional life. And so, for me, it's real simple. If I were coaching a basketball team, I would, say, well, these are the things that we need to do on the offensive side to score points to win. But if we're not playing defense and we're just giving everything right back, how much progress have we made? You're not going to win that way. And so for me, and this is very sports centric, but it's how I make sense of things. What are the risks that we can mitigate? What are the quote unquote turnovers that we can eliminate in order to keep the positives and the things that we put forward, and you can put that and graph that over to anything that you're doing as an entrepreneur, as a creative type, or even just as a full-time employee. If you're going to put your best foot forward and do great things, but if you back it up with maybe hurting yourself by shooting yourself in the foot by maybe being a bad person to deal with, or being somebody that maybe says the wrong thing in certain circumstances, and that kind of wipes out the good things that you do. To me, I think it's just being mindful of that, of trying to eliminate mistakes, once you've made a mistake, learn from it, that kind of thing, so that all of the positive output that you're putting out there can really stick and you're not taking one step forward and one step back.
There's always something that gets in your way. There's always some roadblock. Can you get to a point that you can manage your day or not have the guilt if it doesn't go the way you planned? How do you mentally reset and put yourself in that good space every day or halfway through the day when things get derailed?
Well, I think the easiest answer to that for me is, you have to take a lot of breaks during your day. I think for physical purposes, for mental, emotional, even spiritual, from the meditation side of it, a term that's out there that I know is used a lot in business or just become very popular, they call it the Pomodoro technique of sitting down for 25 minutes, deep work, getting things done, getting up, taking a break. And how I would explain that to someone would be, probably something similar of having a set amount of time for deep work and focus and concentration on the task at hand that you've planned out, time that you've carved into your calendar for a specific purpose. But making sure that you get up to take a break to, kind of clear your mind, to change the scenery. And in my life, it's helped me. As someone that can get overwhelmed, or someone that can, I can maybe lose focus on something after a while. Well, if you spend an extra 30 minutes sitting down after you've already lost focus, well, your mind begins to wander. And then the next thing you know, you're watching crazy YouTube videos or, surfing on Instagram. Those breaks throughout the day end up buying you back so much more time. Some people might not do it because they think, wow, I can't just keep taking time away. But I mean, we're not meant to sit in front of a computer screen all day. We're not meant to just focus and keep on the same thing for hours and hours and hours on end. That's not productive. I also think just to kind of give yourself the grace of acknowledging that you're going to make mistakes in some instances, and acknowledging that, if certain things didn't go well, it's okay. There's a next chance. There's a next opportunity in front of you, and not to dwell too much in the past, to dwell, mostly in the present.
You talk a lot about discipline, living an authentic life, being gentle with yourself. How do you mix all these things together and know that you're hitting the mark? How do you know when you're achieving all these things?
That's a really great question. For me, my answer is maybe somewhat similar to what we talked about a little bit before, which is the game plan, which is, for me, if you can say, are you living a life in alignment with your values and your purpose? And that could be a lot of things. Again, I know I'll just reference the fact that we're both parents. Do you have a why for what you're doing? Well, that's usually what your purpose is considered. Well, sometimes that why might be, to provide for my family. Sometimes that why might be, you know, to reach that self-actualization, that top of the pyramid of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, sometimes that why could just be very, very fundamental stuff because I want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to reach my definition of success. And this is how I'm defining success. My definition of success is that I'm going to do X today. I'm going to do Y today. One of my favorite videos, I've watched it. I watch it before almost every speech I give. It's a Denzel Washington video from a commencement address that he gave. And, he talks about the importance of setting goals. And he's like, it's so important to just, to have yearly goals, weekly goals, daily goals. And he kind of, he makes some jokes. But I mean, it's really, when I see people that, kind of try to, eschew that wisdom and say, I don't need, I don't, without goals, I don't understand how you can really be successful. I think that's the visualization, that's the mapping out of what you want to be. So I think that authentic living, living a life with discipline, living a life, that has purpose to it, go back to the foundation. And that's a lot of what I wrote about in my first book. And it's how I make sense of my world. Go back to what you're passionate about, to the values that you hold dear, and how you're really going to define success for yourself, because you own all of that. No one else can ever take that away from you. No one dictates that. You dictate that. And I think that gives you a greater sense of ownership. It gives you a greater sense of motivation and ownership and empowerment to go out and do what you want to do each day. And I think, and then from there, to me, it's the habit part.
We were talking about, ownership. I thought about whenever I did corporate life, and a lot of the time I would find myself thinking that I didn't own my time. I own my time by like whatever is in my email, or whenever somebody says, okay, we're having a meeting at 2:00 today. And then like, you feel like you're losing all control. Can you plan and truly own your day, even if you're in a situation like that, if you're not in a leadership role, if you're even a parent at home and things go nuts at the house? Can you find a way to make your day work and still feel that empowerment?
There's certain meetings that are just going to be there. To the ability that you can influence, maybe there's some that you don't need to be a part of. But let's put that out the window for a second. Just the constants that are going to be there. Let's just say there's 3 hours or 4 hours of your day that those are just meetings that are not variables. They're constants. They're just going to be there. Well, what about the other 4 or 5 hours? That's within your control. That's your time. And I talk about using time blocks. I'm not somebody that plans every minute, and I'm not somebody that even plans every hour. I just think that having time blocks on your calendar that align with what is most important for you to achieve, whether they're specific goals, whether it's a project that you're working on, a specific deliverable, a task that needs to get done, allocating a 1-hour block, a 30-minute block, a 2-hour block to just execution. And I talked a little bit before about, just that kind of deep work, so that you block everything else out during that time. And I think the example of that would be, let's say you have a meeting from 9 to 10, you have one from 11 to 12, 12 to 1. Let's say maybe you have 3 back-to-backs, but then you have 3 straight hours in the afternoon. It's having the discipline to block that time off and say, these are 2 hours right now from 2 to 4 that I'm going to work on X. And maybe I take a couple breaks in between, 3-4 minutes at a time, to get up, stretch, clear my mind, but then I'm right back to it. And I think in reality, we have a lot more control over our schedules, even in a corporate, nonprofit, government environment, than we may think. And just understanding how important it is to actually plan that time, but then be efficient in when we execute during that time, and kind of block out distractions, and not let our Outlook or Gmail or email, calendar or email management system kind of manage the time for us.
So you talked a lot, obviously your book is emotional intelligence. So it's about, relating to people and how to connect to them and how to really motivate them through these connections. And you talked about the golden rule. Why is the golden rule so important to you, and what does that mean to you?
I think what it means to me in terms of emotional intelligence is a lot of things. It's the 2 pillars of emotional intelligence, the 2 foremost things are self-awareness and empathy. And I think that when you read what the golden rule really is, it's those two things are just baked into it so heavily. Do unto others as you would want done unto you. In order to know how you would want things done unto you, you need to spend that time to think about that. Would I want other people to treat me? That's self-awareness. Do unto others in the way that you want. Well, we want people to be kind to us. We want people to be caring toward us. And so if we're going to reciprocate that, that's empathy. And so to me, I just, has been a guy, I think I even mentioned in the book, it predates, a lot of people associate that with the teachings of Jesus, and that predates the golden rule. Has been around for a long, long time. And I think it's stood the test of time for those reasons. It's very, self-awareness, but also outward. It's very inward, but it's also very outward. And I think it's enormously important to kind of keep that in mind as we plan and think about what we really want to achieve.
So what personally just inspires you? How did you decide that you wanted to go down this road? Because you are really passionate about it and about coaching people and helping them. Your books are fabulous. What caused you to go down this? Because you have been in a corporate role before.
Yeah.
Doing amazing, great things outside of it.
I appreciate it. Well, I mean, look, I've had people, former director from one of the previous organizations that I worked at, who hired me, about 7-8 years ago. I mean, he reached out to me. He said, "Wow, you've made a dramatic career shift." And it's funny. It was funny to see that because in some ways maybe, but in other ways, I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of had this part of me that wants to share, my wisdom, but I think deeper than that, it's, I think we've talked about just kind of, self-help and things like that. I didn't set out to be a self-help author. And sometimes when I hear people say that, it's almost like I don't like those labels or whatever, but I think for me, it's lessons and things that I've learned along the way. I'm a big learner. It's come out. I've done the Clifton StrengthsFinder assessment before, which I'm a really big believer in, do a lot of work in with my coaching clients. And learner's at the top of my list. And so for me, it's like, I love to learn things, but I love to share that with other people. I came to the, realization several years ago that my mission is to want to be able to help other people to reach their potential and to do the absolute best that they can. And I think I've had a really wide variety and range of life, business experiences all across the board, things through sports, things through jobs that I've had, through my own personal life and family, that, I think there's a lot of things that I can help people with and that I've been able to have an impact with. And so, for me, emotional intelligence it's just something that, Stephanie, I've always, it's always just come very, very naturally to me, it really has, in terms of how much I realize that the way that we feel emotionally impacts our thoughts, our decisions, the opportunities that we identify, the relationships we seek out in life. And that's what it's all about. And that has a big impact in terms of how we live our lives personally, but it also has an enormous impact in business. And so, wanting other people to kind of have that gift and realize it's not just a buzzword. Emotional intelligence is composed of a lot of different skill sets, the way that Daniel Goleman defined it: motivation, self-awareness, self-management, the social skill side of it.
So thank you so much for chatting with us today. And certainly everybody watching, go out and buy Chris's books, The Value of You and Emotional Intelligence for the Modern Leader, because they are really great, easy to read. And I really loved that there were so many exercises that keep you going and keep you on track.
I appreciate it, Stephanie. Well, it was great to catch up with you. And thank you for having me, and much continued success to you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys.